Hi, everybody. My name is Dawn Bennett with Touch Remedies. I'm the author of the book, The Touch Crisis, and this is another Touch Conversation. I'm here today with Dr. Emily. She's a pharmacist and a natural family planning educator. And Emily and I have known each other for quite a while now, and I love some of the work that she does. So I thought she'd be a great person to have on the show. So welcome, Dr. Emily.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yes. So we were talking a little bit as we started about where to start. And one of the things you mentioned is navigating this virtual networking thing that we're in currently during this COVID pandemic. So say a little bit about your observations, what you've noticed with yourself and what you've noticed when you have been able to do networking in person.
Yeah. Before quarantine and the pandemic, I was doing quite a bit of networking and meeting new people. And I was happy to give and receive handshakes and hugs. And honestly, I think I just kind of took that physical touch for granted. And so now, in this virtual environment, I've noticed a lot of awkward feelings in myself and just trying to figure out how to navigate those and realizing that, there are different ways to connect to others than physical touch, but also what is a way that we can have physical connection safely.
Mm-hmm. And when you find those awkward moments, how have you navigated that for yourself?
Yeah, it's been a lot from talking to you and reading your book was so helpful. Just being able to, first of all, notice and recognize that in myself, and then being able to ask myself, why am I feeling this way? And then what action can I take?
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's something like, okay, maybe this person doesn't want to be close enough for a hug right now, but what if we were sitting on a bench and we could even like touch feet right now? What would that be like?
Mm-hmm. Have you tried that yet?
I have, yes. I actually got to do that and it was really nice and something that I honestly would not have thought about before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually amazing how we get so in our touch habits, just the same way we get in talking habits and habits on how we make our breakfast. The same
Mhm.
thing can happen around our touch communication. I love it.
Definitely, definitely. And just I think part of all of this too is realizing that I don't always know the other person's situation.
Mhm.
And I don't always know, especially with the pandemic and the virus, are they in a household with someone who's at high risk?
Mhm.
Have they recently experienced the loss of someone with COVID? There's a lot of factors besides just, oh, this person might be scared and not want to touch.
Yeah. Have you found yourself reaching out in different ways, even virtually, to try to still make that connection in a way that's powerful without the ability to touch?
Yes, definitely. And I think that is one of the advantages of living in the time that we're in now, that we do have so many different platforms for connecting and different opportunities to connect with each other virtually. And actually that is one of the nice things that I'm actually doing more networking now because I don't have to travel. I don't have to, go find a place to meet with someone. I can talk to somebody, who's nearby me, and then I can talk to somebody, a state away from me, all from my home. And but
Mhm.
being able to really like have more meaningful conversations too, I think, because there is something about being in the comfort of my home while I'm talking. I'm already in a comfortable setting, and having them be in a comfortable setting too, I've noticed that there's a difference in connection than if I was meeting someone at, a random coffee shop, for example.
Well, that's interesting. So almost like, not to put words in your mouth, but what you're saying is there's an ability to be more vulnerable. Is that when you're saying more safe? That's
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be the best way to explain it. Like
hmm.
I'm already feeling, yeah, safe. I like that word. And so we can open up the conversation more.
That makes sense. And then you don't have everybody listening in from the side tables.
That too. Yes, yes.
I love it. So you mentioned that you did experience someone actually reaching out to you for touch recently. Will you tell us about that? I thought it was a really great story.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm part of a networking group, and we got together for a social event a couple of months ago. It was in a place that was open where we were wearing masks and being distanced, but still able to be together. And it was really nice. And as we were leaving for the evening, one of the people in my group, came and when he was leaving, asked if he could have a hug. And it was very nice. And I felt so respected. And, I think, it's probably at the forefront of my mind, is maybe why I noticed it so much. But it really just made me think about in the past, I think I really have taken those kind of situations for granted. And if someone came up to me, I would just open my arms for a hug and it wouldn't be that big a deal. Or I would just walk up to somebody and not even ask. But the fact that somebody did ask, it it just really felt so honoring. And like, yes. And then I think it made that physical contact even nicer because it even more solidified that this is someone that I respect and care for. And we were able to have that connection physically, but also it was that verbal communication before the touch that connected us.
I love it. And isn't it, it is true. It kind of warms my heart to hear you say that, right? Because it is this idea of trying to honor the other person. And I think people feel awkward, like, what's that person going to think of me if I ask for a hug or a handshake, or would they like something? When really it is this gesture of respect and honoring and perhaps love,
Mm-hmm.
affection, whatever it is for that individual. But just that true, like, I want to connect with you as a real human and I care about what you think and how you react to this.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. So I know that you work with a lot of couples in your practice as kind of a natural family planning educator. Have you
Mm-hmm.
heard anything from the couples that you're working with, or anything that you want to share about how they're navigating touch, or maybe ways that you're navigating your relationship with these couples now that you may not be with them as often?
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I really like to talk to my couples about is non-sexual physical touch
Mhm.
and, communicating intimacy physically in non-sexual ways. And that communication about asking for what you need and being open and able to ask your partner. And as I have conversations with couples and ask them, you know if you're wanting something, are you able to ask your partner? If you're feeling disconnected, like, how do you approach your partner? And just hearing those conversations. And I think too, actually, that, like I was mentioning before, this virtual environment has been even more helpful for having those conversations because too, I'm meeting couples are in their home, I'm in my home, and it's just us. And so we really can have this connected conversation about being connected.
I love it. Love it. Do you have any suggestions for maybe couples that you've met that are struggling with that connection, or that are struggling with, how do I know if the physical contact's meant to be sexual or not sexual, or, because that can be a little bit tricky to navigate some days, right? A lot of assumptions can be made. Mhm.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, one thing I like to encourage the couples I work with is to set up some date nights.
Mm.
I know date night looks different now in a lot of ways, but having a nice night at home where you can just be together and plan on having these conversations at a time where you're not right in the moment of wanting that physical touch, but where you're seated at dinner and you can just really start having these conversations. you know hey, I really like it when you massage my back. I would like to do that more, or do you enjoy it when I do this or that? Just
Mhm.
starting to have little conversations, and the more that you can just schedule some connection time and to know, okay, we're going to be having these conversations, seems to put less pressure on those moments of physical intimacy.
That's great. I love that because I was telling somebody the other day, I was speaking at a book club, and a lot of the women were there like, oh, I only get touched when he wants sex. But then I'm talking to my friend who's a professional cuddler who works a lot with men who are like, my wife always expects me to perform, and it's just nice to just get loving attention from somebody that isn't sexual and I don't have to do anything. And so I wonder, where is the miscommunication? So I love it that you are so helpful with your couples and educating them on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like to kind of throw out there that you think would be helpful for our listeners to see as I put up your information here?
No, I think like exactly what you talk about in your book. I mean, over communicating is so much better, and just starting the conversation. I mean, most of the time we're wanting to have physical contact with someone we already have a relationship, we already care about. And so just start that conversation, just start asking a question, and then leave it open, and be open-minded about what's going to come forward.
Right? Because things can change day to day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. So if you want to get a hold of Dr. Emily, her website's up here. It's nfppharmacist.com. So Natural Family Planning Pharmacist,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's one of Dr. Emily's strengths as well, as she is an actual pharmacist by trade. So she knows how to incorporate the natural and the pharmacy aspect of everything. So thank you so much, Dr. Emily, for coming on. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Dawn.